humanity pretended to go extinct and rebuilt civilization, and it was broadcast live. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101. Someone came to steal the house. Invasion without leaving a trace. Build a defensive firewall. Roar. Hear the roar. Not just Jiang Kui. Even the audience in the live room also surprised. Originally a few barrages explode immediately. F***K. What's the situation? There seems to be something outside. Someone wants to steal home. When you hear this voice, you know that the visitor is not good. Be careful. Lord Kui. Boom. Kick the door open. Jiang Kui holds the axe. Looked around. But not in the camp. Find out what's different. The only traces are a few piles of firewood piled up not far from the camp. Scattered all over the place. Second. He only saw Dabe. He was squatting in front of him alertly. Looking at the dark jungle in the distance and motionless. Big. White. See. Jiang Kui shouted. Then he walked over immediately. Look at Dabe's demeanor. He knew it wasn't easy. Britannia wolf for territorial invasion. Very sensitive. Sensitive sense of smell. Unrivaled. Just notice the difference. Respond immediately. Not surprisingly. Just now. There must be something. Haunted around the camp. Otherwise. It won't be like this, soothed Dabe. Jiang Kui stepped into the jungle thoughtfully. Just took 2 steps, found something different. Weeds underfoot. Separate the sides. The traces of the border crossing are very obvious. See it at a glance. And this not the point. The point is right in the weedy dirt. Jiang Kui found a huge footprint. There is only one more or less outline. See the scene. Jiang Kui squatted down slowly. Put your palm on it and compare it. The footprints are bigger than his hands, a full 4 or 5 laps. This is definitely a big guy. But because it is in the grass, the footprints look very blurry. Can't tell what species it is, just know the weight is huge. Should be more than 400 or 500 pounds. And from the roar just now, to distinguish. No accurate judgment can be made. Is it in addition to leopards, Komodo dragons, white wolves, wild boars? Are there more powerful beasts on the island? F***K. ITM direct good guy. Such a big footprint. Nimmer. Isn't this a dinosaur? The question is coming. What is this? I don't know. However, this guy is bold enough to dare to enter Kui's wild area. Looking at Lord Kui's expression, this thing doesn't seem to be simple. I feel that, no matter what it is, this Master Kui should have memorized it. Huge footprints, late night visit, everything. It all indicates the extraordinariness of the visitor. If it weren't for a campfire in the camp, there's a good chance this thing could be wreaking havoc. Look at the footprints in the bushes. Jiang Kui said nothing. His eyes were sharp and fierce. Poker face. Chapter 102. Precious wood. The melee has become long range. There are many types of wooden recurve bows: athletics recurve, beautiful hunting, traditional recurve, and so on. Combine your own situation and the hunting needs of the jungle. Strong traditional style. Make a simple beauty hunt. It is undoubtedly Jiang Kui's first choice now, because of the competitive recurve bow and the traditional bow. Regardless of production difficulty. Still the required materials are very demanding. Metal bows. Axle. Side pads must meet the requirements to play the power and the production of these parts. These are all tasks that Jiang Kui cannot complete independently at the moment. So hunting is definitely the best choice. Mihan is actually Mishao bow hunting. Powerful. It is the 3rd largest bow in addition to the competitive recurve bow and the oriental traditional bow. The technology comes from the Indian war bow, an evolved version of the original wooden recurve bow. Bow species history is not long. Just decades, but it is an improved version that combines the advantages of many excellent bow species. Similar to Eastern traditional bows, there are also no sights and balance bars, but there are bow windows. After taking the arrow and pulling the bow, the hunting view is very good. It's just that the depth of the bow window is significantly less than the competitive recurve, but it's completely enough. It's just for jungle hunting anyway. Not to go to the competition. Have a plan. Finish breakfast. Jiang Kui sorted out his thoughts. Then I went out To find material 710 point. Make beautiful hunts. The choice of wood is key point. Likewise, wood is also the main material for the stem and limbs point. So point resilience must pass point, otherwise point. Even if it works fine point, it is also difficult to achieve the desired power. Near the camp point, mostly Samocan beach point or sequoia point. Even if it is used, it can only be used point, not the most preferred point. The power will definitely be much worse point really. If applied to hunting point, it doesn't have that smell either. Big, white, pick up the battle axe. Jiang Kui greeted Dabe point, immediately decided to go to the depths of the jungle to see point. From the moment I decided to train this little guy, Jiang Kui takes it with him every time he goes out point. Let it act as its own assistant point. Do what you can point, don't say it point. Have such a partner. It really saved a lot of effort for Jiang Kui point. Wait a while point. It can carry heavier items. You can basically let go of your own hands. Dabe, hurry up, quick. 9. Jiang Kui made the way ahead point. Walk aside point. While observing the trees in the jungle point, there are many kinds of trees in the forest point. Various shrubs and trees visible point. In point there are also many handles and blades that can be used to make bows. BJFH. The flexibility is almost indistinguishable from the wood near the camp point. So point can only give up point. Continue to go deep point. That's it point. Wandered around aimlessly point. Just when Jiang Kui was disheartened, he finally made a new discovery not far ahead. Those are two very beautiful yew trees, a full 15 meters high point. The yew tree is also a type of fir tree point, but this guy is so much more precious than an ordinary fir tree. It's not that the tree species are very expensive, it's its hard and elastic qualities, just what Jiang Kui needs right now. Yew wood is the best material for making recurve bows point. None of them. This tree is native to the warm and humid Mediterranean coasts such as Italy, Tyre, Crete and other places. The best of UI Castile. Also distributed in the southern hemisphere point. Harder materials such as elm, ash, and oak are also available alternatives, but the performance is always worse. The world famous Eagle Glen hunting bow is made of yew wood. Cold weapon near a point. Eagle Glen also specifically set tariffs on yew wood. A few yew billets must be paid for every barrel of mainland wine imported. Chapter 103. At Wild Area Station. Sharp alloy arrows. The attack speed is directly full. 6666. Bow and arrow? What the hell? Dishonest. Malay changed to long range. Brothers, I have bows. I feel like guns should not be far away. Handsome. This bow. It looks similar to what Hawkeye uses. F***K. This looks like a recurve bow. The bow used in the archery competition seems to be the bow of Kui. F***CK. Handmade recurve bow? This is too strong. In the live room point, various barrages emerge one after another. All are shocked by Jiang Kui's operation. Unexpectedly, Jiang Kui uses only a few pieces of wood point. Just made a recurve bow. To no point, the recurve bow is not an ordinary longbow. These two things not an order of magnitude at all. Ordinary longbow point do whatever you want with bamboo, but the recurve bow is not. This requires a lot of professional skills. It's not something you can do. Here point the audience was shocked. Jiang Kui is holding a pocket knife point. 4 wooden holes are carved at the junctions of the two sides of the bow and the bow respectively point. Then it's time to make clay molds for alloy rivets and arrows. Rivets are the key to connecting the stem to the limbs. Beaten by a stone axe point, it rives the stem and limbs together. Rivets don't need to be done much point, just meet the specs. It is enough to pass through the wooden hole on the bow blade of the bow point because the melting point of the alloy is not that high point, so this step point it takes almost no effort point. Soon point 4 copper nails and more than a dozen screwdriver shaped cross piercing arrows. Cooling is completed point, set aside by Jiang Kui for later use. Then point he picked up the bow and one of the limbs again point. Find the hole point, take a copper nail out of the mold point, insert into the wooden hole point. Found a slate base point, align the rivets, hit hard with a stone axe. Ding. Ding ding ding. Copper nails withstand external forces point, will expand naturally point. Fill the holes. Player fixed roll point, very reliable. Soon point nail one side point, take the bow again point, nail the other side point just for a while. A beautiful hunting recurve bow full of details and original style appeared in front of the camera. The pattern of yew is beautiful point with time and years of holding and use point. Once the pulp is formed, it will be very tasty. Even without polishing point, it can't cover the unique charm of the top cedar. So beautiful. Too bad Kneeling, good guy. At Wild Area Station. The martial arts in the world are only fast but not broken. As soon as Master Kui took out this recurve bow, the attack speed was directly full. Amazing. Weapons are getting more and more advanced. Eagle Source audience, my god. It feels no different from the bow used by Eagle Eye. The only difference is that he is made of wood. Danging audience, the shape is too handsome. Korean audience, this visual pull can reach 50 pounds, and I can't pull it without any strength. Here point a hunting bow point basically even done point then. Jiang Kui found a hemp rope point. Rub a little lard on your hands. Rubbed several times, it does not stop until the oil is fully infiltrated and penetrated into the fibers of the hemp point. Because the fixed hooks are made in advance on the bow pieces point present point, just tie the bowstring to it point. Bowstrings are consumables, replace every once in a while point, so don't worry at all. Chapter 104. Armor piercing bow. Heaven defying arm strength. Beyond the limit of human beings. On the live screen, Jiang Kui stood there point arm holding bow and arrow point. Blue veins burst. Every inch of muscle is bulging as best it can. It can explode at any time. Now point the hunting bow in his hand point. It's been pushed to the limit. Tight bowstrings squeak. Arrows above point. It has accumulated endless power. Hunting bows usually use the Mediterranean style of drawing, also known as the 3-finger string point. The index finger is above the arrow point. The middle and ring fingers are under the arrow. Of course point there are also a few people who use the 3-finger down bow method point, that is, all 3 fingers are under the arrow point. The index finger touches the arrow. Because the beauty hunter has bow windows, the aiming method uses gap more point, that's the extension cord. Very few high-end players use intuitive aiming. Practicing the intuitive method is also the ultimate goal of many beauty hunters. July 10th. Due to the bonus of precise throwing, the aiming method chosen by Jiang Kui is undoubtedly a difficult intuitive method. Soon after the bow is drawn, he narrowed his right eye point. His gaze was directed at an oak tree in the distance point, then point without hesitation. Instantly release your right hand. Whoosh. 35 next second, a cracking sound passed by. Arrows go away. Fly straight to the target. At last point only hear a hum. Look again point. Sharp arrows. It has pierced through the tree. Straight into it. The arrow of the cross piercer arrow point not an inch in. It shook for a while before it stopped. Repeated quenching due to arrows grinding was done again point. The piercing power at this time has long been incomparable. Seems to be just a little bit point. You can go through the hole completely. Boom. See here point in the live room point. Just be quiet for a while. Countless barrages erupted again. F***K. It seems that this bow is difficult to draw. Lord Kui's missiles are about to burst. Indeed. This arm strength is 2 TM against the sky. If this is headshot, the consequences will be unimaginable. Yes, handsome exploded. Eagle Source audience, it feels more lethal than a gun. This Chinese is invincible. East Win audience, if this arrow hits a person, I can't imagine it. Korean audience, got. The pulling force of this hunting bow has reached the limit of hunting bow. I'm afraid it must be 75 pounds. What question mark? 75 pounds. When hearing this number there was another uproar in the barrage. For some people who know a little about the sport of archery point, they know better than anyone point. What does this number mean? Usually point whether it's racing or hunting. 74 pounds is already the limit of a general hunting bow. Hundreds of pounds, that's the Arabian Nights. Hawk is 200 plus pounds. What's more, the eye plot in the film and television comics is not realistic at all. Point what is the concept of 100 pounds? Basically equal to a stone point. Ordinary people, men, can generally only draw 40 or 50 pounds of bows. Many modern bows and arrows can only pull more than 60 pounds of bows, up to 73. 4 pounds point, and it has to be a custom bow. Chapter 105. It's time to hunt. Are the moving targets so accurate? A good thing can be kicked out with one kick. With this beautiful hunt, Jiang Kui's fighting power undoubtedly. Another wave of enhancements has been made. Melee and ranged weapons, everything is there. As such point either hard or sneak attack point. Naturally no more talk point. Dare to commit point. One arrow can teach him to be a man. Pack up the arrows. Jiang Kui is based on his own usage habits. Adjust the position of the bowstring point. Then I used a knife to trim the unevenness of the bow grip point. Several rattan ropes are tightly wound point, make it more comfortable to hold point. It also fits the palm better. Traditional hunting bow. There are many benefits. When hunting. Not only can you adjust your own battle plan at will. Can also hunt the invisible, although the stone spear also has the same purpose. But if you really compare. In the end, it's still a little underwhelming. This is what makes the hunting bow different from other throwing weapons. It has the ability to strike targets in random environments, random distances, and random attitudes, especially against moving targets. Certainly. To have this ability. Requires long training. Second. The structure of the hunting bow is simple. Lightweight and durable. Also better for the jungle, armed with the new weapon. Jiang Kui couldn't wait to try his hand in the woods. It's time to hunt. 19. Thinking. He hurriedly shouted, "Big white." 35. Then take the hunting bow. Leaving the camp and pacing into the jungle. At this time. It's almost evening. The light in the woods is dim. Like a big steamer, both humid and muggy. Haven't gone for a while. Bean-sized beads of sweat ran down Jiang Kui's cheeks. One after another dripped to the ground. That's it. One man and one wolf advanced less than a kilometer. Sudden movement in the grass in the distance. It immediately caught Jiang Kui's attention. See. He hurriedly made a silent gesture to Dabe. Hush hush, squat. Command to stop. At the same time, he was also short. Hide in a cave not far away. See that little guy through weeds? Jiang Kui pointed to a bush not far ahead and whispered with interest, "That's our goal." Talking. He turned back and drew an arrow from the quiver at his waist. Slowly put it on the bow handle. Straight to full bowstring. Don't move. Now. In the live room. In order to see the hunting process more intuitively. The screen was switched to the first perspective by the director. Look in the direction of Jiang Kui's line of sight. The audience also discovered the strangeness in the grass for the first time. The sight caught a hare with grey-white fur and fleshy balls. It looks a bit like an Angora rabbit. But not exactly. Not sure what species it is. Wow. Run Tutu. Lord Kui is ambushing you in the grass. Tutu is so cute. Don't kill him. Don't be ashamed to explore the grass, because every grass may hide a Kui. Haha. Whoosh. Next second, just as the audience was talking about it, the arrow in Jiang Kui's hand had already left. Fly without bias, because the speed is fast enough. Powerful enough. PFFT. Haven't waited for the rabbit to react. The arrow pierced right through its head. Not even a humming sound came out. Died on the spot. Dabe. Go. Clearly ordered. A pounce. Rush out of the cave. He walked to the rabbit's body, picked it up, and sent it to Jiang Kui's hands. Trained by Jiang Kui system. It has developed basic hunting habits. Even with food in your mouth. Didn't get the master's order. Still didn't dare to act rashly. Nice job. From the big white mouth. Chapter 106. New lighting tools. Lord Kui has a lamp. The trunk is over a meter long. Weird shape. Into the wilderness. No roots or leaves above. Like a dead tree. But form and character, and it's not the same as dead wood. Look at the bark of the tree. Apparently it's been on hold for a long time. It can be deposited over a long period of time. Not only not spoiled. Look inward through the old peeled shell. The tree body is shiny and shiny. There is a thick layer of grease. It's like soaking in oil. Torch. See this scene. A word immediately jumped into Jiang Kui's mind. Torch. It is a rare wood fuel in civilized society. More common in China. Pinus tabuliformis rarely seen in other tree species. Because of the oil pine. Rich in oil. The wound section undergoes healing deposition. Original wood layer. It is easy to cause grease penetration and immersion. This in turn forms a special fuel that burns sustainably. Often used by ancients as a fire tool. Can also be fused with beeswax resin. Made into candles or oil lamps. To the island's climatic conditions and geographical location. Obviously not suitable for the growth of Pinus tabuliformis. So deadwood should not be pine. Mostly from other oil-rich trees after a long period of deposition. Such a strange scene. Jiang Kui also met for the first time. I sighed in my heart. The magic of nature. Lord Kui seems to have found the baby again. Isn't it just a piece of broken wood? Looking at Lord Kui's expression, you know that things are not easy. Good guy. GKD, there just happened to be good beeswax in the camp point and oak resin point. Now found such a large piece of pineapple. It's totally possible to make a great lighting tool point such as the everlasting light point like a brazier. Thus not only can you save a lot of firewood point, they can also be used to replace defensive firewalls at night point. It can also achieve the purpose of defending against beasts point thinking. Jiang Kui got off his horse point, pick up the dead wood point, resist on the shoulders, shouted loudly point, return to camp on the same route point. After arriving at the place point sky point, it was already pitch black point, put the windfall song Ming aside. Jiang Kui untied the hair and frigate bad tied around his waist for the first time point, add a lot of firewood to the campfire point and use 3 sticks above the flame point, set up a barbecue point. He turned around and boiled water in a clay pot point, hot knife point, fur for hair point, pulled off intact point. The fur of the mountain rabbit is not inferior to that of other animals, also a pretty decent leather, can be used to make many leather goods, but compared to other durable boar skins and monitor lizard skins, this thing is obviously much more delicate point. Special tanning methods are required to ensure that the leather is not damaged point. Not very useful for the time being point. It was thrown directly to the roof of the chicken coop by Jiang Kui point. Find a way to deal with it when needed point. Soon point clean up the hairs. Jiang Kui plucked out the rabbit's teeth with a knife point, immediately opened the hole point worn on the animal tooth chain. After wearing point numerical value in the system panel point, there will be some changes soon. The original 2% bonus has become 3%. Various properties another boost. Chapter 107. Change the recipe of crooked nuts by myself. Camp warning device. Dark as ink point, the sea breeze is gentle point, and the jungle point by the campfire point. One man and one wolf snuggle together patiently waiting for the food to come out point. The atmosphere is warm and harmonious point in the live room point. Look at the camp lit by candles. The audience also sighed again and again for a while, although on the surface point it's just a few point, can't be any more ordinary candle light, but there is only light point, but it is a starting point for island civilization and humans to use fire energy to rise to the end. For Jiang Kui's civilization reconstruction tour point, billions of viewers, the most powerful witness. I recalled the first time I drilled wood to make fire when I landed on the island point. Contrast with today's bright point, this huge gap point. How can they not be amazed? Think carefully. Jiang Kui's almost legendary existence point, isn't it the history of the birth of human civilization? There is almost no difference between the two. Use fire to dispel the darkness first point, harvest warmth, then melt the metal point to farm point, go build. Now point, the fire ignited the wax oil point, there are lights again. Let the light have a more civilized way of expression. This scene point seems trivial point, but it means so much, because this is the industrial foundation of energy disguised utilization. It is also the journey of civilization revival. 713 Under the bloom of flames. Brothers, put your tears on the public screen. Watching Master Kui all the way to this day, I really burst into tears. With the lights, I don't need to tell you what to do next. Kui's next step. The next step is to build an offshore oil rig, make fuel, build a spacecraft, ride it off the ground, sail into the distance, and conquer the stars. I can't make it up. Asterisk asterisk. Kui's spark has become a prairie fire. Come on. Campfire in the dark point, swaying point after a long barbecue point, rabbit meat on the grill point. It has produced the Maillard reaction that countless western chefs adore. The oil flour is beating sizzly point under the action of honey and fire point, creates a crispy, browned crust. Hash. Absolutely. Just watch point, or make people swallow saliva involuntarily point. Here point realized almost. Jiang Kui eagerly took out his knife point, a scratch on the rabbit's belly point. The moment the knife rises and falls, juice one, water overflows one after another. It perfectly interprets what is called outer coconut in a tenderness, very in place. Smell point. Dabe also came over. Jiang Kui looked at it and smiled point, cut off a large piece of meat and threw it at. Come on, Dabe, and taste my craft. Then point he also took a piece of himself point, sprinkle some sea salt and pepper on top point, put it in the mouth point, tasted carefully. Have to say point, honey crispy point. It does not affect the punching speed of the gravy at all. After the entrance point, immediately between the pure teeth point, a set of unstoppable punches came point. It's a blend of crispness and tenderness, unprecedented sense of collision. Simply not too wonderful. Well, how about it, Dabe? Doesn't it taste good? My hometown China. This is a well-known delicacy, and it is definitely your luck that you can eat it. Big mouthfuls munching on the barbecue. Jiang Kui asked Dabe for his opinion. But obviously this guy is about the topic he started. Doesn't seem interested. Just squat in place. Shining fierce fangs. Chapter 108. Meet the invaders again. Strange scene. This is a polar bear? Soon set everything up to increase the weight of the clay pot. Jiang Kui added a lot of clay to the pot again. Compacted. Then I simulated the situation of the beast crossing the border again. I want to test the sensitivity of the mechanism. Stand under the clay pot. Jiang Kui picked up a small wooden stick at random. I touched the rope that was lying in the grass. Next second, the moment the rope senses a stick. A clay pot attached to a tree. Immediately lose balance. Under the action of gravity. It fell instantly. It was caught firmly by Jiang Kui. 6666. It's really a siren. I thought it was a trap. So it is. Master Kui is really too witty. He knows how to take precautions before it happens. The question is, do you think that guy will come tonight? Ghost knows. Due to the added weight. The pot is heavy. Fall from such a high place. It's bound to fall apart. Create a crisp sound. With this device. Basically you can sit back and relax. Haven't waited for the invaders to get close to the camp. Early warning can be issued. Prepare yourself in advance now. Reset the switch. Jiang Kui brought Dabe again. Walked around twice. Until you're sure it's okay. Just turn back into the house. Close doors and windows. He fell on the bed. Just tonight. The guy who had never met dead to come. Must be able to see it for real. At this time. In the live room. Although Jiang Kui is ready to sleep. But many viewers still haven't left. For what happened yesterday. They are still haunted. Second. This camp warning device designed by Jiang Kui. It also gave them room to use their imaginations. I always felt that the unknown intruder might come again tonight. So now. They kept discussing in the barrage. It's really exciting. Will that guy still come? Don't be afraid when you come. Can anyone enter the wild area of Lord Kui? Yes. However, Lord Kui must be careful. Didn't the experts say before that it might be a big guy? Should the program team quickly prepare an emergency plan? What is the big guy? Wild boar. The footprints of wild boars are not like that. I guess it may be an elephant. And it still ran out of the refrigerator. Are you here to be funny? Wave after wave of barrage. It never stopped. I can tell. This secret game between humans and beasts, it's so attractive. Although the two sides have not had a formal confrontation until now. But the undercurrent is surging. It is very exciting. Get your adrenaline pumping without you noticing. On the other side, inside the global studio, several experts and moderators also discussed this issue when asked if the unknown intruder would ever set foot in Jiang Kui's camp. Gracie said slowly, not necessarily. Maybe, maybe not. But encountering it again must be a high probability event, because many beasts have hunting inertia and territorial awareness. In most cases, it's like this. Especially male star animals. They leave some marks every time they go, especially some places where they have been and found food. Jiang Kui's camp has a lot of food and live poultry, and the smell of these things is very attractive to some wild animals. No accident, that guy will come back one day sooner or later. To put it simply, in his subconscious, he may have regarded the camp as his fixed hunting ground. Gracie finished. Guan King nodded thoughtfully. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109. Sorry, you have crossed the line. This is my site. Look at this scene in front of you. Jiang Kui frowned. I thought about it for a long time. I can't understand the ecological logic here. Food chain rules on the island. It's no better than land. Can't hold too many species. Even if there is real human intervention, the possibility of surviving is very small. So a wild island in the southern hemisphere. Why are there giant species in the northern hemisphere? And is it a special breed? To say it's a polar bear is an exaggeration. But if not, how can I explain what is in front of me? Brown bears are called brown bears simply because their fur is generally brown or brownish gray. In the North Pacific Ocean 250 miles southwest of Anchorage, Alaska's largest city point of 3,600 square mile island stands. That is the famous Kodiak Island. There lives the world's largest terrestrial beast, the Kodiak brown bear. July 17th. Kodiak Island is recognized as brown bear paradise, but Kodiak's location point, the island where Jiang Kui is located, point, it's a far cry point. It is almost impossible for species to communicate. The probability is very small. Even if it really can point, there must be other unknown reasons for this. Second point, then there's the matter of fur. Brown bears and polar bears originally had the same ancestor points due to changes in the environment point. So polar bears in the Arctic Circle point evolved white fur to suit the environment point. If this evolutionary theory holds true, point, the brown bear here point has a similar evolution happened. Hence the white fur. The big white guy in front of him point with Kodiak brown bear, it really looks almost the same. All features, they all fit the traits of a Kodiak bear very well. The weight is over 500 kilograms, standing 3 meters away from the hind legs. As far as the food chain on the island is concerned, point, not surprisingly, point, this guy's definitely at the top. Komodo dragons or something. Compared to that point, there is almost no comparison. Point, Kodiak bear, it's no longer a problem to single out two monitor lizards. What a tiger, lion, wild boar. Not at all a match for the Kodiak Bruins. No matter your weight, size, or fighting power, this thing is definitely a heavyweight land beast. At the same time, point, in the live room, point, through the lens, the audience also saw this huge silver white behemoth. F***K. What's the situation? Polar bear. This F***CK won't be a polar bear, right? Good guy. It's really strong. It's so scary. Where did polar bears come from in the southern hemisphere? Polar bear. Senseless. This moment, point, everyone is stunned. Every audience was fascinated by this silver white behemoth, point, shocked beyond words. Many people even preconceived that, point, isn't this guy a polar bear or a hybrid of polar bears and brown bears? The other side, point, hide behind boulders to find out. Jiang Kui continued to observe, point, at last, point, finally found a clue on the front paws of the white bear. The fur of the front paws of a polar bear, unlike the white hair on the body, point, you can still see a little bit of light gray. It is clear this is not the result of heredity. It is caused by a rare phenomenon of whitening. Chapter 110. Heavy rain in the jungle. Fighting brown bears. Squeaky 39. The moment the words fell, point, hunting bows like the moon, point, it has been bent to a certain extent. Accumulated endless power. Next second. Haven't waited for all the audience to react. Sharp armor piercing arrow, point, it's out of the way. Fenny also shot out. Whoosh. When seeing this scene, point, the live broadcast room was already boiling, point, the barrage ushered in a wave of unprecedented outbreaks again. F***K. Huh. What's the situation? It's too rigid. I'm not used to it at all. I'm taking it real and pure, man. Cheating. I thought about countless results, but I didn't expect that Lord Kui would take the initiative to fight against the wild brown bear. Why am I shameless? Eagle source audience. This Chinese person is crazy. I'm going to suffocate. Got darnging audience. Nanny. Chinese people, don't you want to live? White bear audience. I thought I was fierce enough, but I didn't expect this guy to be more brave than me. He dared to provoke this big guy. Just now, point, everyone is still worried about his safety, point, but never expected, point, the voice hasn't fallen yet. Jiang Kui chose to take the initiative. To no, point, even an ordinary 19-pass brown bear, its combat prowess is not to be underestimated, not to mention mutated. Even a seasoned bear hunter, you wouldn't dare to do this with just a hunting bow. Oh my god, this is really crazy. In the jungle, in the shock of countless people, the arrow is unbiased, point, hit the brown bear's right eye. This arrow, Jiang Kui almost did his best, point, strength is no small thing. Roar. Next. Second, point, brown bears eat pain, point, there was a deafening roar. I can tell, point, it has been thoroughly irritated. In the huge open mouth, point, rows of fangs stick to mucus, full of barbed shepherds, to vent the unwillingness of being plotted. At this time, it suddenly raised its front paws, he straightened his body angrily, point, regardless of the 37-21, point, aim for a big tree in front of you, point, it's a palm up. Strong force, point, the whole Tree shook for a while before it stopped. Look again. Several deep paw prints have been left on it. Even across the screen. You can also feel the oppressive horror firsthand. It is indeed a top beast. This arm is really invincible. Even if hit by an arrow. The combat power has not been weakened even a bit. But Jiang Kui didn't give it a chance to breathe at all. Hide in the bushes. Draw the bow again. This time he's aiming for the left eye. It's also an arrow with all his might. Whoosh. No surprises. Hit again. PFFT. Next second, when the arrow pierced the brown bear's left eye, cross-shaped wound. Immediately there was a burst of blood. By the grass under the white bear's feet. Red. Raw. At the same time. The polar bear roared again. Brown bears have poor eyesight. Losing both eyes can be devastating though. But it does not seem to affect its combat effectiveness and keen hunting sense. He dropped his front paws suddenly. Aiming at the grass where Jiang Kui was. He rushed over. See? Jiang Kui is one step faster. A side roll. Avoid first. Wait until you hit the ground and stand up again. Quickly draw an arrow from the quiver. Shot out by instinct. Throughout the process he moves very fast. Not a shred of sloppiness, and with the help of throwing accuracy. Chapter 111. Clean the battlefield. An ancient tanning method that has been lost in the jungle. Torrential rain. It was dark and dark. Hunting scene. Rivers of blood. The originally fierce white bear has now become a corpse. Cooked brown bears. Jiang Kui started cleaning the battlefield on the spot. Brown bears are full of treasures. Bear skin, skeleton, bear paw, bear bile. Even claws can be used to make something practical, like hooks or something. Second, bear meat itself is also a very good source of protein, and it doesn't taste that bad. Regardless of cooking or frying. All can taste it. The nutrients and fat content inside. Several times higher than wild boar. Such a big brown bear saveth marinated as bacon. I'm afraid I won't be able to eat it all for a year. The rain is getting heavier. Take out the knife. Jiang Kui took off the fur of the brown bear on the spot. Got a very nice bear skin. The fur is soft. It feels very comfortable. However, the cut bear skin cannot be used directly. It is easy to rot when used directly. It must be tanned for long-term preservation. Bear skin is definitely the finest fur. None of them. It is an excellent raw material for craftsmanship. Can be used to make many things, such as mattresses. Before that, Jiang Kui has always slept on the hay. With it. Those dried out palm leaves at home. Basically it can be thrown away. Soon. With torrential rain. Take care of the bear skin. Jiang Kui cut off the bear's paw on the spot. Remove the bear bile. And then hundreds of kilograms of bear meat. Change the knife into pieces. Been busy for an hour. Until the rain subsided. Only then did all the loot from this hunt be put into the shed. Speak up. Similar post-processing work. Definitely more stamina than hunting itself. It's just the few hundred catties of bear meat. It's a hassle. Busy with everything. Jiang Kui breathed a sigh of relief. Went into the bathroom, unscrewed the bamboo pipe of the cistern, and took a shower. Get rid of the bloody smell. Then went back to the room to rest. When the rain stops tomorrow, deal with these things. In the live room. Until Jiang Kui's snoring sounded. The barrage of explosions still hasn't stopped because of the jungle fight just now. It was so wonderful. Action by action. It's still exciting so far. Every detail almost perfectly deduces what is called a super godlike cold weapon hunting. Track, observe, preempt, and pull around. A textbook presentation. It's just astonishingly beautiful. In the mouths of poachers at North America weak. There used to be a saying. No matter what. Don't try to s this guy off with the bursts in your hand. That means even if you have a gun. Please also pray that you don't encounter brown bears in the jungle. Even the SK-12 that can be fired in bursts. Unless you can guarantee a headshot with a gun. As the most powerful beast on land. Even important internal organs are smashed. Brown bears are also not directly fatal. Their vitality is very strong. As long as the last drop of blood is not drained. There is always the possibility of a counterattack. Chapter 112. The strongest king in the Pacific. Internet cafes. Brothers who can't be bought with money. A lost tanning technique. About tanning point, the average audience naturally knows very little point. But at the moment point listen to the detailed explanation of relevant professionals. Everyone also realizes that this technique is not easy. Don't underestimate tanned leather. Even if it is a good leather point, if not carefully processed point, the effect of using it will be unbelievable. And even more unexpected point first can be seen everywhere in everyday life point there are still unknown. Top craftsmanship. It seems that Master KUI can not only develop heavy industry, light industry is also within your grasp. Cheating. I feel that Master KUI is omnipotent. Too strong. What the hell? Once you shoot, it is a lost skill series. The player who is surfing the internet on the 43 machine of the Pacific Internet Cafe is the strongest king from the first area of China. Haha. Excellent. Welcome to watch a small coup for crossing every day. Brothers, hurry up and take your notes. It will be useful in case you travel back to ancient times in the future. Fresh leather. Apply sea salt point. It can guarantee the fresh skin state of the raw skin to a great extent. Not only can it prolong the shelf life of the leather, it also ensures that the fibrous web under the skin is not damaged. Point to achieve the purpose of protein aggregation in meat. Point convenient. After soaking point remove debris from the skin. In the live room point the audience was shocked. Jiang Kui has coated the inside of the bear skin with C720 salt point until it was confirmed that every blood stain and residual meat residue was covered with sea salt point. It's over point. Then point he took out the knife point, make a small slit in the four corners of the leather, find 4 more small sticks point, penetrate into it point, plunge into the ground to fix it. Take a whole huge bear skin point propped up point at this moment point, just wait a while point. When the salt above dissolves and the moisture in the meat is sucked out, the second step of tanning can be carried out. Soaking in water. Flesh is a colloid point, at least it's colloidal point. It will coagulate when encountering electrolyte solutions, heating, and electrolytes with opposite electrical properties. This is why the addition of sea salt particles can make the residual flesh and blood colloid particles aggregate into larger particles, thereby a precipitate is formed and precipitated out of the dispersant. This action is similar to alum in modern tanning agents. The effect is actually about the same point. But point sea salt tanning is indeed an ancient technique known to humans trying to obtain good leather. It was first used by the Inuit to process handcrafted raw materials such as fish skins, later spread to northern Europe. Point favored by Vikings. These Vikings, everyone is a leather maker. Weapons, shields, equipment used. Point even daily necessities are inseparable from animal. Further spread of ancient tanned leather greatly improved their BJFH production life point, so that he becomes brave and good at fighting. Later it was not until the invention of vegetable tanning agents that it gradually disappeared from the stage of history. Point while waiting, Jiang Kui took out the wooden tub that he had made when making paper, got some water set aside for later use. Point then point take 4 more sticks based on the length of the fur, 2x2 as a group. Point stand on each end. Point connected with rattan ropes made to simple clothes drying rods. Subsequently point he brought another bundle of firewood. Point lay it under the 2 clothes rails, take the fire and light it. Point wait until the bonfire burns out into a dark red charcoal fire. Point just put the dipped, degreased and washed leather on the clothes rail for drying and drying. Point within a few hours the fibers in the skin can become very tight. Point even if it is used for several years or decades will not shrink or deform. Point soon. Point about an hour has passed. Arrange clothes rails for drying leather. Jiang Kui boiled a large pot of boiling water. Point then point again find the tub from which the paper was beaten to the pulp. Point clean up any scraps inside. Point get clean water set aside for later use. Point everything is ready here. Point he turned around again and came to the leather, observed carefully. Point now. Point after an hour of marinating. Point residual flesh under the skin. Point great color change. Chapter 113. 5,000 years of history shocked the world. Turn survival programs into cultural exports. Pure wild bearskin. Point prices on the black market. Point always high. Complete is even more expensive, especially in China. Point rare is expensive. Point similar wild brown bearskins cost as much as gold emeralds as for bear bile and bear paws, let alone even farmed. Point the price is also 1,000 yuan per pound. Point if only wild. Point go at least 6 figures. Soon. Point in the shock of the audience, Jiang Kui will wash the bearskin. Lay flat on a drying rack. At this time the firewood laid down below. Burnt out. No flames, only finely ground charcoal remained. The temperature is just right. It stands to reason that the leather is dried. It is best to use a dedicated drying. The chance is much better, but not right now. So it can only be dealt with in this way. Finished laying tan bear hides. It's noon. Sky. Still gloomy. Stand on the camp platform. Look out at the distant ocean and hazy sky. Clouds over the sea. Overwhelming. Press very low. Like a blooming devil flower, seems like it's going to devour everything. Realize that it might rain. Go back to the campfire. Jiang Kui got ready for lunch immediately. I took a few pieces of freshly marinated bear meat in the workshop. String with wooden sticks sprinkled with a thin layer of black pepper put on the grill. Roasted bear meat tastes a bit like raw pork liver and raw beef. But let's be honest. Not bad. Seasoned with sea salt and pepper. The only bit of bloody smell was almost covered up. Compared to other beast meat. It can definitely be called a very good delicacy. Of course. The most important thing is not the texture and taste. The nutritional value of bear meat. Definitely a rare supplement. Bear meat at the same weight. Its protein and fat content is several times that of wild boar. Only 200 grams. It can fully meet the daily nutritional element of a normal urban aged man. Quite powerful. Just good beef. Nothing more than that. Feast on bear meat. Afternoon. Another torrential rain. It came as expected. It was dark and dark. It lasted for days from afternoon to evening. Period. Jiang Kui had been hiding in the house and never went out. By the light of an oil lamp. The ink is researched. Follow the previously written chronicle. It begins with a battle for the deer thousands of years ago. It records in detail the origin, development, and conjectures of prehistoric civilization. Attempt to combine the 5,000 years of Chinese history. Relatively completely recorded. If one day. I can really get out of here. Or find human survivors, that history. Undoubtedly very precious. At the same time. It is also the foundation of the continuation of Chinese civilization. But what Jiang Kui didn't know was the days when the island was hit by torrential rain. Own unintentional record. But it caused an uproar on the internet. The magnificent Chinese prehistoric civilization and immortal glorious chapter shocked countless foreigners. Give them a good lesson. Even the strongest equal source audience in the world has always been. After looking at these histories, cannot help but sigh again and again. Turn out to be. What are they doing today for global monopoly, global hegemony, world number one or something? All TM is the rest of China playing. As early as thousands of years ago. They ended the 7 heroes and 5 hegemons try to step into the national fusion. Compare with others. Chapter 114. The flood season in the island. Really a master of tactics. Lord Kui is going to do something big. Look up. After several days of heavy rainfall. Right now, the original trickle. Has been transformed. Become a raging river. The waves are rising. Rapid water flow from north to south. Can't see the edge. Straight to the southern shore of the island. Because the flood season came too suddenly. The entire river channel was abruptly widened by several meters. Besides, not only is the water level skyrocketing throughout the river, the water quality has also changed significantly compared to before. At a glance. An earth spring color. Look. The situation upstream should be even worse. Face sudden changes. Jiang Kui looked around. He cursed in a low voice. Because he knows. This time. He might be in big trouble. Think for a moment. Jiang Kui hurriedly turned his eyes to his feet. Grab a handful of dirt. Observed. 7, 2, 3 as expected. Very loose. It's almost all piles of silt. That's right. The riverbed is raised. Why it became like this, it is completely determined by the terrain of the island. The north is high and the south is low. Downstream terrain is relatively flat. Soaring groundwater via the upper reaches of the higher terrain. Thanks 1,000 miles. Come downstream. It caused a lot of sediment to accumulate on the bottom of the river. As a result, the riverbed is raised. At this time. If the embankment bursts, jungle along the coast. Will be threatened by flooding. A long time. The river will be further widened. By the time. The entire downstream. Even camps that are far apart. Will be affected to varying degrees. To no point it's only the flood season, although the flood season is not equal to the flood point, but floods usually happen during the flood season. At this time point, if there is another flash flood upstream point, the consequences could be disastrous. Everything here pointed is very likely to collapse in an instant. To prevent flood crossing, Jiang Kui must now respond with corresponding engineering measures, build embankments, prevent troubles before they happen. The river is a long way from the camp point, a time point. The camp is not endangered point, but hurry up point, in retrospect point, own decision point, really plan ahead. Thanks for choosing the camp in the first place point, not built on water point, otherwise point in this situation point I'm afraid the camp has already been destroyed. Before that point the audience in the live broadcast room also asked this question: why would you rather carry heavy clay pots and go to the water source to fetch water every day instead of moving the camp near the water source, even spending a lot of effort to build a cistern? 35 by now point, they finally got it. Turn out to be point Lord Kui has a deeper consideration. F***K. Lord Kui really has such good details. Finally know why Kui didn't build the camp near the water source. It's north. If it were me, I would never have thought of this. Cheating. True tactician. I even thought of this. Looking at Lord Kui's expression, I feel a little worried. Worry about Lord Kui. Will it evolve into a flood? The water seems to be very fast. Rivers must be managed point, there is no doubt about this. But where to start point, where to start point. But you have to plan well point, this is a big project. But point to do it once and for all point, just repair the dam point, not yet. Only in the upper, middle, and lower reaches of the river drop point set up 3 adjustable weirs respectively, in order to play a better role in flood control. Adjustable weir, as the name suggests, it is the earth weir that can control the water level. Chapter 115. The rhythm is invincible. The most hilarious DJ dance song in history. Kui strikes iron. F***K. It started. I get it. Lord Kui is going to build a Noah's Ark this time to resist the flood. Noah's Ark. Stop teasing, brothers. So many oars? It must be a big project. Looking forward. Lord Kui yides. Soon point, when people are talking point, the third batch of ore in the kiln point, it's finally out. At this time point below the entire furnace point, it's already piled high with assorted charcoal and oxides, but these are far from enough. Then Jiang Kui continued to fill and seal the kiln point, start firing the 4th batch, 5th batch, the 6th batch. Soon point it took nearly 3 hours. The hill like ore in the camp was all refined. Present point, look again in front of the furnace tunnel of the ascension kiln point, it's already piled up with a large sheet of burnt oxide point, reef and charcoal. Ore separation is complete point. While waiting to cool down, Jiang Kui was lying on the ground with his back on his back, breathing heavily. No way point. Even if I've been single for 20 years, I'm fast point, super unicorn arm bonus. The frequent blasts are also exhausting for him. 319 hours down point, the blades in the air duct of the blower are almost out of sparks. Replaced 5 or 6 times. The audience was stunned point, call this GM a real man. Soon point, it took about an hour or so before and after. Jiang Kui ate something casually point, then fetched one of the largest clay pots in the camp point, put the water pipe inside the reservoir again point, pulled to the front of the furnace point, turn on the tap point. He cleaned up a lot of debris on the ground point. After rinsing point metal and stone point, it's easy to tell the difference. See point, he hurriedly picked up the fire stick point, start collecting point, remove the burnt copper particles and metal tin residues all in clay pots point. Good guys, I got a whole can of it. With these base metals the rest is easy. At this time point it's getting late point, light rain on the island point, patter to get homework done faster. Jiang Kui got 2 oil lamps directly point, put in the shed point, get ready for a night battle. Due to the lack of 2 lights on the right point to prevent intrusion point, I can only trouble Dab A to squat and guard. Dab A, be alert. See the master's gesture point. Dab A immediately understood point. Ferry also ran into the jungle point, don't delay for a moment. More obedient than a professional police dog. The audience was amazed. F***K. Dab A is getting more and more obedient. Real master of domestication. Train wolves to be obedient. Dab A is so pitiful, he went to stand guard again. Haha. Has he? I hope I won't meet this man in my next life. Brothers, I have a bold idea. I also want to raise a wolf. Brother, You don't just raise things casually. Open the big white. Jiang Kui sat on the ground. Start making clay molds for saw blades and chisels. Making a shark tooth frame saw is very simple. The only difficulty is the saw blade. A sharp chisel is required. On a metal bar, scratch the serrations. This process quite complicated. You need to burn one end of the whole saw ruler first. Then use a chisel. Little by little on the edge of the red hot spot. Type out the word people. 2 herringbone. It's a sawtooth. So repeatedly. From start to finish. Continuously annealing. Keep pounding. In the process just a mistake. Break even a shark tooth. The whole saw blade is useless. By the time I want to weld the sawtooth up again. But it's hard. With current technology, it is simply impossible to complete. So when hammering the sawtooth. The hand must be steady. Second, the chisel must also be sharp. At last, when annealing. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116. Retro Frenzy. The pinnacle of classical woodworking. What, was it a saw? This guy actually made a saw. See here. The audience was stunned in an instant. A wave of barrages follow it up. F***K. Saw. Congratulations to Master Kui for getting the tool. Saw. Noirarch unlock. And progress plus 1%. The Saw of the Wilderness Blacksmith series. Absolutely. Burn the saw blade red. And then use a chisel. To knock out the teeth. Leo Kui really has you. Invincible. There is a saw. I feel that the trees in the forest are going to suffer. But finalize the sawtooth. It's not over yet. Because the hardness of the saw blade is not enough. If you use it like this, the life of the sawtooth will be greatly shortened. It won't take a few days. Will break. So next repeated quenching is also required. Beat. Anneal again until the saw blade becomes more dense. Then that's it. Inside the camp. A new round of wonderful hammering sounds sounded again. Ajajajajajaj pleasant sound. Very nice. The more you listen, the more addicting it becomes. No matter what kind of music it is used for. Can fit well with it. It is expected to be fire. Haha. Master Kui's rhythm of ironing is too high. F***K. It's really on the Douyin hot search list. Cheating. Blacksmithing window is okay. Light smoke drifts past like whispering and knocking on my window. 666. Which great god told me how to make a co-production. I will also go to shoot one. Master Kui's rhythm is really good. Soon. Over time. Even if the island is already dead of night. But the sound of hammering in the camp. But it still didn't stop. A humble saw blade. It has been quenched 3 times before, and after hundreds of beatings, whenever it doesn't work. Will be annealing again. Tossed for an hour and a half. Grind a few more times. So tired. Jiang Kui is sweating profusely. Sharp shark tooth saw blade. That's it. Make the saw blade. Jiang Kui found a small wooden stick at random. Secure with your feet. Swish. Swish. Sawed up. Very sharp. Very underwhelming. A stick. It will be divided into 2 in 3 or 5 strokes. To no. It's just a saw blade. Due to various constraints it is not very convenient to use. If fitted with a wooden frame. It will definitely be more powerful. According to historical records, the frame saw was invented by Luban. Saw made by classical woodworking. Also mainly refers to the wooden frame saw. Compared to a hand saw. A frame saw will make it easier to use force. Second. This large saw. The solution is also fast. If you just get a piercing handle, it becomes a handsaw. That effect can be greatly reduced. For Jiang Kui. The frame saw is also a more cost-effective choice. The first choice for unpacking. It's not difficult to make. The wooden frame saw consists of a saw hand, a saw beam, a torsion column, a saw blade, a saw wire and a saw strand. The principle is to use a wooden frame to support the saw blade. Tighten the saw wire by means of the saw twist. To tension the saw blade. The structure is relatively light and reasonable. Call he. Breathed a long sigh of relief. Relief fatigue. Jiang Kui is the first time To prepare the corresponding materials for making the wooden frame, sawman first. You don't have to be particular about wood point, just use hardwood point. Just find 2 wooden sticks that have passed the hardness level and you can replace them. The saw hand is divided into upper and lower parts after simple peeling and sanding. Jiang Kui chiseled tendon holes at the top, middle and bottom of the saw hand point to install the saw beam, and saw blade point. A torsion column is installed at one end of the saw hand point, the other end is used to tie the saw wire. Chapter 117. The Bronze Age. In the live room, point a shark tooth frame saw that perfectly interprets classical woodworking, make countless crooked nuts look sideways. The performance of the frame saw point not as good as today's chainsaws though, but the clever idea and ancient culture contained in that point, it has taught countless people to be amazed. Now this age point, even a professional carpenter, nobody uses this stuff anymore. Point, it's too troublesome after all. Point, but no matter what point, you can't deny it. This top cutting wisdom has been passed down for thousands of years. It has made great contributions to the development of human society. Without this saw point, humans can't make better use of wood. It will not develop all the way to today. Point, it can be seen from this, its significance has actually surpassed its practicality. Point, but point for Jiang Kui, I equals I percent construction of the frame saw. Point, undoubtedly a giant leap in technological innovation. That's why point, after harvesting the frame saw and chisel point, the system beeps are also coming. Hurt. Jiang Kui opened it and took a look. Point, it turns out that the achievement points of civilization have increased. Bronze Age, 732 thousandths. After this period of hard work, point, your achievement points grow rapidly. The advent of a single alloy copper let him gain nearly 100 achievement points. At the same time, point achievement enhancement point, it also made Jiang Kui discover a pattern. Exclamation point 723, that is, whenever you make a tool or building that has a major technological turning point in the development of civilization, your achievement points will soar. Alloy 100 points, Roman brick 200 points, ranged weapons 50 points, rainwater collection tower 100 points, and now point improved cutting technology. Point, it's more of an achievement point. Point reached unprecedented heights. Go on like this, it is estimated that the fortification of adjustable weir will be completed. Point, can you break through the Bronze Age yourself by the time? Point, can I get a card again? Although I don't know what to expect. Point, but Jiang Kui is very much looking forward to it, because if you think about it carefully, you will know. Point, the 5 draw awards of the Stone Age are so powerful. Higher achievement. Point, it will not disappoint. At the same time, the other side of the ocean. Point, inside the global studio. Point, 4 experts and presenters present. Point, when seeing this scene. Point, it is also basically the same as the reaction of other audiences. Point, stunned. Point, all surprised. 4 guests in this episode, except for old friend physicist Philip Ron, animal expert Professor Gracie. There are also 2 heavyweights. Point, in point, the most famous Alonso, a tenured professor of geography at Oxford University. The urban land economics proposed by this Dezong old man, it has played a pivotal role in the process of human urbanization in the 23rd century. Point, helped a lot to develop Xianqiao family. Exclamation point 2386. Point, he was awarded the United Development Medal by UNESCO. Point, great position in the industry. As for the other achievement, although not as good as Alonso. Point, but it is also well known in the field of structural engineering. Point, from East Win is a world-renowned master in structural engineering. Really bright. 2. Point, Dongyi's national treasure, the improvers and promoters of contemporary architecture in today's society. Point, in the East Win the local status is very high. At this moment. Point, the 4 experts couldn't help but admire Jiang Kui's operation after witnessing it with their own eyes, especially Mamoto Ryota, because China's Luban saw for him. Chapter 118. The full 3-piece set of critical strikes. Is Lord Kui going to incarnate the real version of the bald head? At this time. Point, finely polished, the single-edged edge of the planer, it's very sharp. Under the dim oil lamp. Point, shining a little silvery white light, holding a planer Jiang Kui sat on the ground. Look carefully. Subsequently. Thumbs up immediately. I felt it on the blade with my fingertips. Good. The sharpness is perfect. Planing a plank or something is never a problem. Thinking. He found a dead wood at random. Put it in front of you. Knife in both hands. Make the cutting edge and the dead wood surface tightly fit. Then push forward slowly. Next second. You can see it clearly. Where the blade goes, a layer of shavings immediately rolled up on the dead wood. Moment. In the live room. The barrage that just subsided. Boiled again. Sincerely ask for advice. What kind of knife is this? What a sharp kick. Isn't this the legendary planer? It seems to be a plane. My grandfather was a carpenter before, and I seem to have seen this tool at home when I was a child. What is a planer? Woodworking 3-piece set, used to polish the board. But this thing, almost no carpenter uses it now, because it is too primitive. By the way, what the hell is Master Kui doing? He made so many tools all at once. I do not know. Live streamed here. What Jiang Kui did. It has successfully piqued the curiosity of the audience. A lot of crazy operations gradually in the hearts of millions of people around the world. Weaved a huge suspense. A time. There are different opinions in the barrage. Various guesses incessantly. But it's a pity. Guess for a long time. A crowd. Didn't get any valuable clues either. Here. In the studio of the global live room. When seeing this planer, Mamoto Ryota was stunned again. After a long time, he whispered, This is a plane and a woodworking tool. Plane. This tool. Even some young Chinese natives know very little. Not to mention the host Guan King. She grew up abroad. This ancient woodworking tool. She has never seen it. Haven't even heard of it. See. Shinbin immediately explained. The plane is a very primitive and sharp grinding tool. 35 using it, you can easily level and light the rough board. However, this tool has been withdrawn from the stage of history more than 100 years ago. Have you heard of the woodworking electric grinder? Gu Wan King nodded. She has heard this, because she has it at home. The plane is the original form of the woodworking electric grinder, used for grinding wood. I didn't expect that this young man from China was so proficient in classical wood art. What is he going to do? Plane is a woodworking tool. It was not a rarity on Earth in past lives, even in the 21st century. Some senior carpenters are still using it, but in a parallel world with advanced technology. Since mechanization has become very common. It has long been applied to all areas of life. Over 100 years ago. No one uses a plane as a tool anymore. Many people born in their 20s and 30s. Don't even know what it is, especially some foreign young people, until I heard the original explanation. Everyone is stunned. I see. F***K. Lord Kui has collected all 3 sets of critical strikes. Really raised your posture. It turned out to be used for planing wood. It's just that Master Kui is manual. Eagle source audience. What a strange China tool. I don't know what it is for, but I always think it's amazing. Eastwin audience, I seem to have seen this thing in the woodworking museum in Shibag. I don't know if it is a thing. However, I feel that China's brother made this. It seems to be more primitive than that. Korean audience, Jiang Kui must be from Korea. Otherwise he would not know how to make such exquisite Korea woodworking tools. 66,666. Thinking, or you Koreans dare to think. Admiration. Admiration in capital letters. With planer, the next step is to make the proper cap iron, and planer cover iron is also important. Chapter 119. Damn it. Is Master Kui researching flying machines? All night. Less than 6 hours before and after. 3 woodworking tools. It was all made by Jiang Kui. Wave after wave of god level operations almost dropped the jaws of the audience. Watch the whole thing. It's as if you have personally experienced a classical craftsman's literary and artistic journey to fuchsing. Lots of details. It's even more surprising. I can't imagine it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. The scene in front of him is actually real. Especially some foreign audiences. When seeing these tools, immediately looking forward to Jiang Kui's next action. Everyone wants to know what kind of medicine is sold in this Chinese man's good call. Busy with everything. Jiang Kui breathed a sigh of relief. He was lying on the ground with his back on his back. After resting for a while, he got up and went back into the house. One was lying on Rao Ruan's bare skin. Then just a few seconds he fell deeply into dreamland. No way. Really tired. If it weren't for Jiang Kui's physical fitness, that was different from ordinary people. All attributes of 727 have been strengthened. Such intense work. Can't play at all. But if a normal person comes over might not be able to stand it. But anyway. The result is good. With these simple woodworking tools tomorrow, you can start making the wooden cow and flowing horse for transporting materials. Then you can go to the shore to collect materials. Complete the preparatory work for the construction of the adjustable weir in a blink of an eye. The next day. The weather is still the same as yesterday. Pattering light rain. On and off. Never stopped. The whole island. Hazy. It seemed to be enveloped in a layer of transparent mist. Days of rain. Brings unprecedented coolness for Jiang Kui. The weather is not bad. At least work. No need to face the scorching sun again. 6 in the morning at the moment. Although Jiang Kui hasn't woken up yet. But at the moment, China's live broadcast room. But it has already gathered billions of people, with no doubt. After yesterday's live broadcast. After a night of brewing. The curiosity of the audience has been thoroughly stimulated. I can't wait to know Jiang Kui's next plan right away. Why did you come early? Completely afraid of missing every detail that follows. Front row. First, Mom, I'm on TV. Master Kui sunbathed his asterisk. Master Kui offered his relatives. With trembling voice, and the army came to report. Good guy. Billions of people online? Big night. Don't you all sleep. Next second. Just when there are discussions in the barrage, a shirtless man yawned. Out of the house. He looked up at the sky. Jiang Kui stretched and then came to the fence bathroom for the first time. Cool off very happily. Organized personal hygiene. Then start boiling water to cook. Considering that today's workload may be large. While preparing breakfast, Jiang Kui deliberately checked the various data on the physical evaluation instrument. Made a snack for myself. To cassava roots, 3 pieces of roasted bear meat. A salted fish. 4 eggs. 2000 calories total. A meal must be eaten in its entirety. Otherwise. If the energy is not enough. The body must consume some of the precious fat. Is so. But it's not worth it. Fat in civilized society. It may make some obese people talk about it. But here. It is more precious than gold. If not necessary. Don't consume too much. Reduce your body fat. Now Jiang Kui's body fat is about 11. It cannot be lowered any further. If lower, immunity will also decrease. Very easy to get sick. Soon. Destroyed breakfast in a gulp. Jiang Kui called to Dabe. Back in the woods again. Start collecting the wood for making Muliu cow and horse. The so-called Muliu Niuma. In fact, it is a well-designed wooden large space transportation 2-wheeled vehicle. Chapter 120. Surprised. It turns out that this is a line drawing tool. Build a warehouse. In the live room, the audience stared at the ink bucket in Jiang Kui's hand for a long time. Didn't see a reason. Some people think it is a kite reel. Some people think it is a fishing tool. Discuss and discuss. After all, few people came to the point. At last. Just calm down. Continue watching. Live. Soon. Finished the reel and handle. Jiang Kui took an extremely thin hemp rope from his waist. Ready to make ink lines. Ink line. Usually it is a thin thread made of silk. The worst is cotton thread. But none of these Jiang Kui are currently available. So you can only use thin hemp rope instead. Actually. Either thin or thick. Either cotton or hemp. The end result is the same. No matter how rough the rope is, there is also vegetable fiber in it. There is no problem with storing ink. Just fine. Enough. Soon. Wrap the twine behind the reel. Jiang Kui found another piece of hardwood. And use a knife at the end of the hardwood. A wooden hole was punched. Make it a 2-pie. This thing that looks like 2 cakes is called substitute mother zero, also called hanging wire. The function is that it can be inserted on the surface of wood. To fix the ink line extending from the line 19 round. Tighten the ink line. In this way. Reaction force can be used. Let the ink on. The incline stay where it should be. Point. If not, point 2 people have to work. Point 1 person releases the line with an ink fountain. Point 1 stretch the other end. Point only in this way. Point to make the incline straight. Point then complete the line drawing work. Point. But having a surrogate mother is different. Point 1 person can complete the entire line drawing process. Soon. Point finished. Substitute mother 0. Jiang Kui returned to the house. Point randomly plucked some bear fur from the mattress. Point placed in the ink tank. Point then he took out an ink stick that had been put aside for more than a month. Point grind it into ink with water. All fell into the ink tank. Point after having ink. Point the hem broke and the ink tank was quickly soaked. Point I feel almost. Jiang Kui hurried out of the house. Point just find a piece of wood. Point put the ink fountain away first. Point then pull the surrogate mother. Pull out the ink line meticulously because the ink tank is filled with ink. Point so the ink line pulled out. Point naturally it will be covered in ink soon. Point when the ink line is pulled to a certain extent, Jiang Kui took out the knife. Point on the other end of the wood. Point carve a groove. Point secure the surrogate. Point then point he came closer. Pull up the middle of the ink line by hand. Point then let it go. Snapped. After a bang. When the ink line returns to its original position. Point can be clearly seen. Point on a gray stick. Point leaving a straight ink trail. See. Jiang Kui picked it up and looked at it. Point kept nodding. Point look. Point she must be very satisfied with the ink fountain she made. Point have to say. Point with this thing. Point it will be much easier to unpack later. Don't worry about deviations at all. Now, in the live room. Point see this scene. Point the audience seemed to realize something. It was this real. Point not at all what they thought. Soon. Point 1.2.3 the entire barrage burst into flames. F asterisk asterisk K F asterisk CK. This turned out to be a line drawing tool. Incredible. Cowhide. Use the straight end ink line as a measuring tool so that there will be no deviation. Lord Kui is really a clever ghost. Chapter 121. The combination of bearing and chassis. Exquisite tenon and mortise technology. Huh. What is this? Looks like a box. Although I can't tell what it is for the time being, I have to say that Master Kui's craftsmanship is really invincible. Full mortise and tenon structure. Disadvantages. Really strong. Isn't Kui building a wooden bathtub? Don't say it. Point it really makes sense. See this wooden box. Point the audience didn't think about anything else for the first time. Point I just thought it should be a wooden container much like the wooden barrels used for bathing in ancient times, but it's unclear what it is. Point here. Point inside the camp. Point the warehouse is ready. Jiang Kui put it aside first. Point pick up the chassis of the wooden cow and the horse again. Point set aside on a log workbench. Then remove the ink fountain. Point in the very middle of the chassis. Release the ink line. To fix. Point approximate location of the ejection bearing. Point bearings cannot move forward. Point can't stand behind. Must be completely in the middle of the chassis. Otherwise. Point during operation. Point the balance of the entire wooden cow and horse will be greatly affected. Second. Point the weight of the TAU and the braking system at the chassis bearings are also required. The wooden bull and the horse are located at the bull's head in the warehouse. Point it's not just designed for aesthetics, but there are brake considerations, because the bull head increases the weight of the front of the car. As such. Point when going downhill. Point match with the two support sticks in front of the chassis. It can play a non-slip effect. Avoid surprises if the bearing is too forward. Point or too far behind. Point the weight of the bull's head. Point will be affected accordingly. This greatly affects the anti-skid ability of the body. Point about the bearings of the wooden cow and the horse. Point previous life. Point there are many versions circulating. Point many people think so. Point the secret that can keep the flow of horses still is in the bearings, but in fact. Point this mechanism is not on the bearing. Point but on the chassis. The principle is similar to today's car brakes. Wooden sticks on the chassis connected to a set of full mortise and tenon structure brake bearing system. Point just kick the stick with your foot. Point the wooden trap will break immediately. This clamps the hub of the wheel. If you want to unlock. Point just pull out the sunk rollers at the rear of the bin. Point then put away the stick on the chassis. The braking system will fail. Point get the wheels rolling again. Two processes indispensable. Point it sounds mysterious, but the principle. Point in fact It is similar to the principle of bicycle brakes. If you don't understand the operation process, no matter how you do it, couldn't unlock the mechanism. Only the first moving roller, just kick the stick again. Previous life. This problem. It has stumped many fans and researchers of wooden cows and horses. Because of the lack of historical data. The bamboo slips unearthed were badly damaged. The world has not been able to spile the mystery of the wooden cow and the horse until now. It can only be reproduced based on the only information available. The wooden cows and horses described in Three Kingdoms have always been a mystery. Makes countless people crazy. Because it's so amazing. The production conditions at that time were far from modern. The structure of wooden cow, flow and horse also seems to be simple and easy to implement. It really fits the background of the times. But the book describes a description of wooden cow and flowing horse. In fact, it violates many laws of physics in present words. Newton's coffin board couldn't hold it. If the wooden cow and flowing horse are really as described in the book, they cannot eat or drink. Chapter 122. Too outrageous. This is a full mortise and tenon wheel. Tenon and mortise. Strictly fit. Can't find any bugs. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is stronger than screws. A series of tight straight tenons jump in front of the live camera one after another like a beautiful piece of art. The audience was amazed. If you want to disassemble unless with the help of tools and force majeure. Otherwise it is simply impossible to separate it from the chassis. Have to say this wooden structure really amazing. Soon when the bearing is integrated with the chassis. Jiang Kui picked up the frame, saw at both ends of the bearing. Made an article roughly calculate the diameter of the hub. Carved a wooden slot. And use a knife. Clean both ends and next with bearings. After that is to make the wheels of wooden cows and horses. Wheels are hard to say. But it is not easy to say. Because in order to make the wheels stronger and more durable. It is not possible to directly intercept the ready-made whole log. Dig out the hub from it. This is the dumbest. It's the best way to make it. Because of the solid wood wheels, the volume is too large. The requirements for materials are also strict. Quite bulky. Not surprisingly. After getting into the car, the wheels must be heavier than the warehouse. Second 730. Even if it is really feasible. It is also necessary to find trees that fit the diameter. The large diameter banana island is not without it. But really to make wheels, just go for it. It is really unwise, tired and unpleasant. So for wheels, Jiang Kui decided to use mortise and tenon to do it. According to the knowledge given by the system, Jiang Kui learned the structure of the wheel of a wooden cow and a horse. It is roughly composed of three parts: rim, hub and spoke. The rim is the outer circle of the wheel. Similar to current tires, the hub is the log in the center of the wheel. Act as a fixed support. The spokes are the sticks that connect the wheel rim to the hub. Make up your mind. First step. Jiang Kui decided to make the wheels first, then consider the spokes and outer circles. Dabe. That. Give it to me. Follow the direction of Jiang Kui's finger. Dabe immediately guessed the master's idea. Pick up a piece of parched oak that's in the distance. He rushed towards Jiang Kui. And that one. Bring that too. 55 since training. Dabe some errand work. Jiang Kui will let it complete. You don't have to do it yourself at all. Saved a lot of trouble. BJFH. That's the benefit of training a right-hand man. Excellent dude. Dabe is becoming more and more obedient. Really cheating. A wolf was abruptly trained to become a dog. Dabe, won't you come and get it yourself? Asterisk asterisk. One by one, he took the logs that Dabe brought. Jiang Kui randomly selected a cylindrical log. Still oak. Hard yet flexible. Wheels are fairly simple to make. After finding the right wood, Jiang Kui put it on the woodworking table. Use inked lines to draw lines and rulers to make circles. First mark the general shape of the hub. Then there is the grinding as it stands now. The production of the entire wheel hub. Although ostensibly it is making wood. But in fact. This is pure fitter work. A higher level of skill is required. You can only control the roundness of the entire wheel hub by feel. No decades of skill. It can't be done at all. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123. The Mechanism Braking System. Audience, this is not the legendary Mojia mechanism, right? So-called tires, certainly not real tires, but tin. The general process of production is according to the rim point, that is, the length and width of the outer circle of the wheel point. Make a clay mold first, point then smelted liquid copper alloy point into it, point let cool, point a piece of metal that is slightly wider than the width of the rim will be formed. By the time point, just use the principle of thermal expansion and cold contraction to wrap the metal sheet outside the car wheel point can act as tires, minimize wheel wear. Point soon, point got an idea. Jiang Kui put the two wheels in turn, point take it to the pool first, point unscrew the hose, point wet it, point then proceeded to prepare the tin ring, point casting task, point nothing difficult, point it only took less than an hour before, and after a complete set of refining and cooling processes completed, point two iron tires are officially released. After quenching, Jiang Kui picked up a slice at random, point wrap it around in a tin ring, point and put it in the bonfire to burn red. Wait until the temperature is just right before taking it out, point set on a wooden wheel. Then point he turned on the faucet on the water pipe for the first time. Wow. 99 The water jets burst out. Hot iron rings, rapid cooling in contact with water. The perfect end to a heat expansion and contraction. Now look at the wheels. The original iron ring, point it's firmly attached to the wheel. About 5 minutes past, point wait until the tires are completely cool. Jiang Kui picked up the copper axe, point clamp the extra side of the rim tire, point make it fit tightly with the rim. Sew down, point soon, point original wooden wheels. It has a metallic feel. It looks similar to the ancient wheel, point astonishing, especially the operation that uses thermal expansion and cold contraction to fix the tire, point let the live broadcast barrage completely explode. F***K. Tires. Awesome. Isn't this the principle of thermal expansion and contraction? The wheel of Lord Kui looks almost like the wheel of a carriage in a costume drama. The director will not deceive me. Carriage? Lord Kui didn't turn Dabba into a sled dog and let it pull the cart, right? I think you will still think about it. Brother Daddy. Eagle Source. Audience, it's amazing. Isn't this thing the prototype of a modern car? Eastwin. Audience, it turns out that wheels in ancient times were made like this. White Bear. Audience, Brother China is really smart. How can you think of using metal skins as the tires of wooden wheels to prevent wheel wear? I think I'm not watching The Strongest Nation, but The Strongest Brain. Korean. Audience, welcome to the series that you can do anything. Our Korean contestants are really amazing. Eating too much kimchi. How long have you had this symptom? Have you taken any medicine? At the same time, inside the global studio, whether it is the mortise and tenon structure of the chassis and bearings, or hand-built all-wood wheels, or clever tin tires, every detail and exquisite craftsmanship, point it will make the scene cry. Be a leader in structural engineering. When he saw Jiang Kui's amazing operation with his own eyes, Ryota Momoto couldn't contain his excitement, point almost on the spot. This moment, if you really want him to comment on Jiang Kui, call it the master of classical craftsmanship, point not so much this Chinese young man, point it's really not easy. Even the best craftsman in the world today, point compared to point will be eclipsed. With these tools alone, point you can create a decent structure. Even talking about himself, point probably not as good as his fur. It's so amazing. The other side, point build the wheels. Jiang Kui only rested for a while. Chapter 124. The reappearance of the rumors shocked the world. Please put the protection on the public screen. The entire braking system, point, although it is an all-wood structure, point, but the principle and function of it, point, but it is far beyond the peak of the structure that this material can carry on a small wooden board, point. How can such complex ideas and mechanisms be realized? Even if it is the Emo family's hair, the whole body is moved, point, but that's it. At this time, point except for the Chinese audience, point many foreign audiences saw this scene, point even more and more exclaimed, these crooked nuts, where have you seen this? Still thought, point what kind of oriental magic that goes against scientific principles? After a look, I found out, point it turned out to be just a well-conceived wooden mechanism. Eagle Source. Audience, my god. How did he do it? Only a small wooden stick can operate such a complex mechanism. What did I see? My god. White Bear. Audience 730. This looks like the mechanism technology of ancient China. It's amazing. East win audience, really amazing. As Mr. Zenban said, this Chinese person is really not simple. Korean audience, I understand. This mechanism is actually the braking system of the car. It's just simplified by him. At the same time, inside the studio, the same cry and shock point, it's also happening one by one. Look at the live footage frozen on the big screen. The original structure master point like a sculpture point not moving at all. The eyes are full of shock, searching the intestines, and scraping the stomach a lot point. Then he trembled and said, "This is an ancient Chinese organ technique, the world-shattering work of the Mo family." This young man, actually, for Mojia, Chinese audiences have heard of it point, but for crooked nuts, very little is known. When I heard the real text say this term, many question marks suddenly appeared from the barrage. Even Guan King on the side could not help frowning point, eagerly awaiting the actual version below. A long time point. The real book speaks again. The Mohist school is one of the philosophical schools of the Deng Zhao period in China, one of the 100 schools of thought. It is listed alongside the famous masters and Shushu masters as a school specializing in the study of natural science among the hundreds of pre-Qin scholars. 99. Quote, the Mozi of the Mo family is good at craftsmanship and is superior to other masters in military technology. It is said that he can cut a 3-inch piece of wood into a bearing that can carry hundreds of kilograms in an instant. New Karenina. This Chinese person must have used such mysterious techniques that are only rumored. Mozi is a wooden kite, built in 3 years, and defeated in 1 day, using the principle of leverage to develop jujube, used to lift water, made reels and pulleys, and is good at defending the city. This is also the so-called moist guard, the origin of, shocked, true. Word for word point. The audience also listened really well. Know the origin of this. It turns out that Brother China is not only a master carpenter or an agency man, and this time point in the minds of some Chinese viewers a bold idea came up. Lord Kui is not a descendant of the Mo family. I make up. It's amazing. It's amazing. Master Kui is really strong, as expected of a top student in history. Brothers, could it be that he is a descendant of the Mo family? This is a talent. Absolute national treasure talent. Brothers, please put the protection on the public screen. Relevant departments pay attention. Be sure to ensure the safety of Lord Kui. Newbie. The organs are all sorted out. Is it really Newbie? Open the door for Newbie. Newbie is home. When the ground is shaking in the live broadcast room, Yadu Point China Sea, a mysterious department, as the main person in charge of the China delegation point. What just happened point. Zhang Jun also saw it clearly. Chapter 125. Perfect re-engraving, wooden cows and horses, miracles from the field of craftsmanship. In a blink of an eye point. Time is coming to afternoon soon. The weather is still bad overhead point. The rain was intermittent point. It never stopped point. Overlooking the island point. There is a mist in the mountains, even the sea in the distance point. It doesn't seem to be blue anymore. Had lunch point. Take a nap point. It was barely 1 o'clock. Jiang Kui regained his spirits, officially entering the final stage of the wooden cow and the horse. Sorted out point. He decided to start with the support parts first, then consider the armrests and weights in front of the body. Support parts on the chassis, divided into 2 parts, includes front brake and rear support feet point. Any one point. All are indispensable, because the importance of supporting parts is self-evident point. It not only allows the body point cope with some extreme shipping conditions such as rugged mountain roads, or on the ditch, and so on point, also prevents bumps point. Maintain balance in the event of an accident point. Support parts also on the warehouse point play a certain protective effect. Bay. Pass me that stick. Commanding. Bay. Jiang Kui quickly collected 4 sticks of different lengths. Take 2 of them first point. Punch a tenon on it point. Then a 90 hole is buckled on the corresponding position 19 of the chassis. Plug it in. These 2 sticks are the front brake of the car. If it is too late to activate the brake mechanism of the chassis, utilize the front weight of the front brake and body point. It can also slow down the car instantly point. Even call it a halt point. The front brake is matched with the supporting feet at the rear, capable of almost any road condition. Very powerful. These parts may seem dispensable point, but it's actually very useful point, because there is no fulcrum point. Just rely on 2 reels. The car does not use external force point. Can't stand at all. If that's the case point, no matter how hard the brakes are, It's useless point soon point everything is ready point with support parts the body has been able to stop very smoothly on the ground point next point only the armrests and the device to maintain the weight of the front of the car are missing point handrails are easy to handle point just find 2 sticks of the same length points and the surface smooth point insert into the wooden hole at the rear of the cargo compartment point can be achieved point human push and pull and other actions. As for bull's head not really carving a bull's head point put it on top point just cut a square piece of wood point make a shoulder mortise on the bottom point use the cohesion of the cross tenon and tenon point just fix it on the front panel of the warehouse and you're done. The plank can be replaced by ordinary planks need to make grooves in the side panels of the cargo compartment point insert the plank into it point make a push-pull lid similar to a wooden box point in order to realize the function of opening and closing the warehouse. This is a protective part point nothing special point nothing but rain and sun protection point it is more convenient to transport some special materials like food or something. It's almost there. It took 2 hours in total point the finishing work is finally over. Throw away the tools in your hand. Jiang Kui straightened his back point clap your hands take 2 steps back point concentrate on his work point seen from a distance. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.